As you probably know, I've already covered Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition on the PC. I did a TikTok about it and I did a stream about it. But now we're going to be talking about the enhanced console version of the game. The fine folks at Deep Silver sent me the code to the Xbox version of this game. So that being said, they didn't pay me for this and they didn't ask me to say anything in particular. Also, before we go any further, if you do like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. And if you don't, then leave a dislike. Also, comment down below. Let me know if you want me to cover other games and what games you think I should look at. Now that that's out of the way, let's look at Metro Exodus. Today we're going to be looking at the Xbox version. And since I already have the Xbox Series S and X, we're actually going to compare the two to see what the differences are. When Metro Exodus was released on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox, it was already an amazing feat, featuring an open world, great exploration, and lots of fun gameplay. Metro Exodus brings all of that plus more. It now includes a brand new coat of paint. We're talking about ray tracing. Ray tracing allows you to be immersed in this world. Now that you're going to be exploring so many more places, having better lighting definitely makes a difference. But don't worry, ray tracing isn't the only thing that they've added. They've added a slew of new updates. When the game was originally released, it ran at 4K on the Xbox One X, and it does that on the Series X as well. On the Xbox One S, it had a variable resolution, and it would dip as low as 900p, whereas on the Series S, it runs at 1080p now. But the big key factor is the fact that now on the Series X and S, it runs at a solid 60 frames a second. When we're talking about last gen, on the Xbox One S and One X, it actually used to run at 30 frames a second with very noticeable frame drops. Deep Silver also included smart delivery with Metro Exodus. Basically, that means that if you bought the game for the Xbox One X and now you've bought a Series X, you're gonna automatically get the update with no charge. Now, something that's a two-way street is the load times. While loading into the Volga, it can take up to 2 minutes and 40 seconds to load on an Xbox One X, while on the Xbox Series X, it could take just slightly over 40 seconds. Obviously, that's a huge improvement, but on the PC, it took just slightly over 25 seconds. So what does this mean? Well, yes, the load times have been reduced, but I think this has to do more with hardware than any actual coding that took place. As we all know, Xbox kept going on and on about their API, which would reduce load times significantly. But we also have to remember that we're going from a hard drive to an SSD, and that alone makes a big difference. Don't get me wrong though, I still think it's amazing that they were able to cut 2 whole minutes from the load time. It's still a great feat. So let's talk about ray tracing. Here I'm going to compare the Xbox One X to the Xbox Series X. Obviously, the top contenders for both generations. So let's take a look at what we see. As we can see here, with ray tracing on, we have a much more dynamic image. The colors seem to pop more, and the lights reflect off everything. As we can see here, everything seems to be more immersive. The lights seem to make the colors pop, and there's a reflective nature to the light, which is missing in the older version. Having ray tracing enabled has allowed us to have a more authentic experience. When you're walking through all these different biomes, you can really feel like you are there. Now, I know this is a really unfair comparison, but I think it's a really important one. You may be looking to get into the next generation, but when you're looking at the Series S as your only option, is it really worth going for that, which can only do 1440p? Or should you go and get an Xbox One X, which can do 4K, but won't have any of the next generation features? Well, this might help you. So as we can see here when we compare, yeah, the Series S is definitely much blurrier than the Series X. And thanks to Digital Foundry, we can see here that there are less objects being loaded on the Series S versus the Series X. So, it's blurrier and loads less. Obviously, the Series X can outdo the Series S any day. But if I was stuck between choosing a Series S with next-gen graphics or the Series X with higher resolutions, well, for me, the answer is simple. I'd go with the Series S. But enough about that. We're not supposed to be comparing the S to the X and all of that. I just wanted to show you that the S can keep up with Metro Exodus. So with all these new enhancements, Metro Exodus has definitely had a nice polish put on it. And even if you've played this game before with the original graphics, it may be worth delving into this post-apocalyptic world to see how much more beautiful and dreary this place can look. Anyways, for more reviews, gameplay, and funny clips, make sure you subscribe to Retro for the First Time.